Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's a pleasure to be here. I will speak in Spanish, our national tongue. In Uruguay,
we're pushing for transformation of education, which is basically working on three main lines of action. The first one is a curriculum reform. This is systematic and overarching, going from the age of 4 years of age right through to the end of secondary school, and this is being formulated across different competencies. The second line of action is a reform of school management. And this includes the makeup of more stable teaching corpuses and looking at institutional leadership. The main idea with this line of action is that the key stakeholders of transforming education are not schools seen merely as institutions, but schools seen rather as learning communities. We want to see them functioning as learning communities, bringing on board all of the different stakeholders, everybody who makes who brings the institution to life. And the third line of action is a transformation of our teaching staff. We train our teaching staff across three different dimensions. There's the pre-service training, then there's in-service teacher training, while they are also teaching in the classroom. And then we also have all of the regulations that actually govern the teaching profession. And these might be rules concerning the promotion of teaching staff across their active teaching life, right down to the different criteria that are used to determine salary raises, for example. One of the main reasons why salaries progress is because of length of term of service, but we're now looking at other aspects that could contribute to this, such as achievements in terms of learning outcomes. There are a couple of key ideas behind all of this that I wanted to underscore now that I've got the floor for the first time. We are convinced that there's no such thing as a sustainable educational reform in the long term unless you have a transformation of your teaching base and the conditions in which teachers are trained and are working. You can improve the curriculum, you can improve schools, you can put in different operating procedures in schools that can improve the makeup or the consolidation of learning, but if you don't put special emphasis on teacher training and the conditions in which they work as teachers, then none of this is going to be sustainable in the long term. Naturally, this is systemic, and all three different lines of action are actually mutually reinforcing. And the other central idea I wanted to mention is about these different aspects of teacher training, pre-service, in-service, and the rules in which we can give our teachers the very best pre-service training. But if that's all we do for them, then it's possible that right at the outset of their professional careers, we're going to get motivated, well-trained teachers, teachers who are involved, teachers who give their all to improve learning outcomes. But it's also possible that 20 years down the track, we might find ourselves with jaded, tired teachers who feel that they've been left out of the educational community. And so, From our perspective, we see that it's better that we firstly do improve pre-service training, but that we also provide lifelong learning opportunities and continuing training opportunities in service to our teaching staff. Furthermore, we also need that the entire system does actually reward those aspects that we consider important when it comes to the teaching work and our commitment, the commitment that teachers show to achieving those learning outcomes. And all of this is being done in dialogue with teachers. In other words, we're creating these broad-ranging agreements with trainers, with teachers, and yet we never lose sight of that key central idea, and that is that the main protagonist here is the student. And our objective is for students to learn. And to learn things that will set them up for the opportunities that they will come across in their life to fulfill their potential in personally and in society. In other words, we do need to give greater protagonism to our teaching staff, and yet never lose sight of the fact that the students are central to the whole process. And this is essentially the transformational process that we're undertaking in my country. Thank you.
Muy corto.
Yes, I shall be very brief. It's basically a paradigm shift that is here. From the late 19th century to the beginning of the 21st century, the dogma was that the teacher is an individual who's in relationship with the students. That was the end of that. But we've got three different aspects here. Firstly, teachers as part of a community. What they're teaching is in the school which is a functioning part of the learning community, and it's only as a whole that it can actually meet students' expectations. Second idea, teachers as a network. Teachers that can network beyond the school gates. These connections are with their colleagues and also with their students. With their colleagues, they need to share experiences, for example, and teach one another. And finally, better informed teachers. Because we know that education is becoming more and more demanding. We've got to ensure that they have the basic competencies such as teaching the 3 R's, such as teaching reading, writing, arithmetic. But we also need to train them in technologies applied to education. Technology is a potentially powerful lever, and yet technology for technology's sake is not going to be able to resolve the challenges that we're facing. And so we've got to work with teachers to make sure that they can capitalize on those new technologies to the maximum. And then we see that there's a deficit of teacher training. We've heard a lot about inclusive teaching, for example, and we've been trying to upskill cohorts of students in schools, and this is all very well. But what we have not focused on enough is to develop the capacities in the teaching body so that we can diversify this notion of inclusiveness in the classroom. And this leads to frustration. We've got to come up with new areas of teacher training so that our teachers are better prepared if we're going to create the schools of the future. Thank you. Thank you very much.